The afternoon sun was hiding behind thick clouds of dust when Jake rode into Millwood. His horse was tired, and so was he. The wind was pushing dirt everywhere, making it hard to see more than a few feet ahead. He pulled his bandana up over his nose and mouth, trying to keep the dust out of his lungs. Jake had been traveling for 3 weeks now, moving from town to town, looking for work. His clothes were dusty and worn. His boots had holes in them, but he kept his head up and his back straight. A man's pride was sometimes all he had left. The main street of Millwood was nearly empty because of the storm. A few people hurried along the wooden sidewalks, heads down against the wind. Jake spotted the general store and decided to stop there. Maybe someone inside could tell him about work opportunities in the area. He tied his horse to the post outside and pushed through the door. A small bell rang above his head. Inside it was quieter, though he could still hear the wind howling outside. The store smelled like coffee, leather, and dried goods. A few people were browsing the shelves, and an older man stood behind the counter. Jake was looking at a job board on the wall when he felt someone staring at him. He turned around and found himself looking down at a little girl. She couldn't have been more than 8 or 9 years old. She had brown hair pulled back in 2 braids, and her dress was clean, but patched in several places. But what really caught his attention were her eyes. They were studying him carefully, like she was trying to figure out if he was trustworthy. "You're new here," the girl said. It wasn't a question. "Yes, miss. Just rode in," Jake replied, touching the brim of his hat politely. The girl walked around him slowly, looking at his boots, his worn jacket, and the way he stood. Jake felt like he was being inspected by a tiny judge. The other people in the store had stopped what they were doing and were watching with curious expressions. "Are you a good man?" the girl asked suddenly. Jake blinked, surprised by the direct question. "Well, I try to be. Can't say I'm perfect, but I do my best." The girl nodded like this was the right answer. "My name is Sid. My sister needs help." "Oh? What kind of help?" Jake asked, genuinely curious now. "She needs someone to help run our farm, and someone to marry her. She's perfect, you know, beautiful and smart and the best cook in 3 counties. She just needs someone who won't let her down." Jake's eyes widened. He looked around the store. The other customers were trying not to laugh. The store owner was shaking his head with a small smile. "Sid, honey, you can't just go around proposing marriage for your sister to strangers," the store owner said gently. "Why not? Someone has to. She won't do it herself. She's too proud," Sid said, crossing her arms. Then she looked back at Jake. "Are you married?" "No, miss, I'm not." "Do you drink whiskey all day and gamble away your money?" "No, I don't." "Can you fix things? Like fences and roofs?" "Yes, I can do that." "Then you're perfect," Sid declared. She grabbed Jake's hand with both of hers. Her hands were small and warm. "Please, mister. My sister works so hard. She's trying to keep our farm going all by herself since our parents died. She won't ask for help because she's stubborn. But I'm not stubborn. I'm practical." Jake looked down at this determined little girl and felt something shift in his chest. There was something about her honesty, her fierce love for her sister that touched him. "What's your sister's name?" he asked. "Her name is Lily. She's 26 years old and she's been taking care of me and the farm for 2 years now. It's too much for one person. The fields are getting overgrown. The barn roof has holes, and yesterday I heard her crying in her room because the bank sent another letter." The store went quiet. Even the people who had been smiling before looked sad now. Jake realized this wasn't just a child's silly game. This was serious. "Where's your farm?" Jake asked quietly. Sid's face lit up. "You'll come? You'll meet her?" "I'll come take a look. Can't promise more than that." "That's all I need," Sid said confidently. "Once you meet her, you'll want to stay. Everyone who really knows Lily loves her. The problem is she won't let anyone close enough to know her." The store owner spoke up. "The Miller farm is about 2 miles east of town. You'll see it on the left side of the road. Can't miss it. There's a big oak tree in the front yard. Miller Farm." "Got it," Jake said. Sid squeezed his hand. "Thank you, mister." "What's your name?" "Name's Jake." "Thank you, Jake. You're the answer to my prayers. I just know it." She smiled at him, a big, genuine smile that showed a missing tooth. Jake didn't know what to say to that. He wasn't used to being anyone's answer to anything. For the past few years, he'd felt more like a problem than a solution. After getting some supplies from the store, Jake headed back out into the dust storm. As he rode through town, he thought about the little girl's words. He'd been drifting for so long, moving from place to place, never staying anywhere long enough to matter. Maybe it was time to stop running from his past and start building something again. The storm was starting to clear as he rode east. He could see the sun trying to break through the clouds, and in the distance he could make out a big oak tree, just like the store owner had described. His heart beat a little faster. He didn't know what he would find at the Miller farm. He didn't know if the sister would even want his help. But that little girl's courage in asking a stranger for help had moved something in him that had been frozen for a long time. Jake urged his horse forward. Whatever waited ahead, he was going to face it. For the first time in years, he felt like maybe, just maybe, he was riding towards something instead of away from it. The oak tree got bigger as he approached. He could see the farmhouse now and the barn with its sagging roof. The fields stretched out on both sides, wild and neglected. It was a lot of work. Maybe too much work? But then he remembered Sid's eyes, so full of hope and determination. He remembered her small hands holding his, trusting him. Jake took a deep breath and kept riding toward the Miller farm, toward whatever future was waiting there. Jake rode slowly up the dirt path leading to the farmhouse. The dust storm had passed, leaving everything covered in a fine layer of dirt. The oak tree was even bigger up close, its branches spreading wide over the yard. Someone had hung an old tire swing from one of the lower branches, but it looked like it hadn't been used in a while. The farmhouse was a simple wooden structure, painted white once upon a time but now faded and peeling. The porch sagged a little on one side. Some of the shutters hung crooked, but the windows were clean, and there were flowers trying to grow in a small garden near the steps. Someone was fighting to keep this place looking like a home. Before Jake could dismount, the front door opened. A woman stepped out onto the porch and Jake found himself staring. She wasn't what he expected. Sid had called her beautiful, but Jake saw something different. He saw strength. The woman standing on that porch had thick brown hair pulled back in a practical bun. Her face was sun-tanned and had worry lines around the eyes. She wore a simple work dress with an apron over it, both clean but worn thin from washing. Her hands, which she was wiping on her apron, were rough and calloused, but it was her eyes that struck him. They were the same shade as Sid's, but they held a weariness that no 26-year-old should have. They also held suspicion as she looked at this stranger on a horse in her yard. "Can I help you?" she called out. Her voice was firm but not unfriendly. Jake took off his hat. "Ma'am, my name is Jake. I met your sister in town. Sid, she asked me to come by." The woman's expression changed immediately. Her eyes closed for a moment and she let out a long breath. "Oh no, what did she do?" "Well, ma'am, she didn't do anything wrong. She just, let me guess, she tried to convince you to marry me?" Jake felt his face get warm. "Something like that, yes, ma'am." The woman walked down the porch steps, shaking her head. Now that she was closer, Jake could see she was exhausted. Really exhausted. The kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. "I'm so sorry," she said. "My sister means well, but she doesn't understand that you can't just... I mean, she shouldn't have bothered you. I'm Lily Miller, and I apologize for my sister's behavior." "No need to apologize, Miss Miller. She's just worried about you." "That's clear enough." Lily's jaw tightened. "Yes, well, she worries too much for a 9-year-old. "We're doing fine." Jake looked around the property. The barn roof had visible holes. The fence posts were leaning. The fields were choked with weeds. A chicken coop in the yard was missing several boards. This wasn't fine. This was a woman drowning and too proud to call for help. "Miss Miller," Jake said carefully, "I didn't come here expecting anything, but I am looking for work. I'm good with my hands. I can fix things, work the land, handle livestock. I need a place to stay for a while, and it looks like you could use some help around here." "I can't pay much," Lily said immediately. "Actually, I can't pay anything right now. The harvest was poor last year, and the bank, well, things are tight. I wasn't asking for pay, just room and board. A place to sleep, some food, and I'll work on fixing up the place. When you get back on your feet, we can talk about wages." Lily stared at him like he'd spoken a foreign language. "Why would you do that?" Jake shrugged. "I need somewhere to stay. You need help. Seems like it could work for both of us." "I don't accept charity," Lily said, her pride showing now. "It's not charity. It's work. I'll earn my keep. But I won't lie to you, Miss Miller. I'm the one who needs this. I've been drifting for a while now. Having a purpose again, even for a little while, that's worth more than money to me right now." Lily studied his face, trying to see if he was being honest. Jake met her gaze steadily. He was telling the truth. He did need this, maybe as much as she needed help. I should say no, Lily said quietly. People in town already talk. Having a strange man living here wouldn't help. I could sleep in the barn, Jake offered. Keep everything proper. Before Lily could respond, they heard hoofbeats. Jake turned to see Sid riding up on an old pony kicking up dust. The little girl's face was flushed with excitement. You came, Sid shouted, sliding off the pony before it had fully stopped. She ran straight to Jake. I knew you would. I told everyone in town you were a good man. Sid, Lily's voice was sharp. What did I tell you about going to town alone? Mrs. Patterson gave me a ride on her wagon. And I'm not alone. I'm with Jake now. Sid grabbed Jake's hand and looked up at her sister. He's going to help us, right? Please say yes, Lily, please. I saw how you were looking at the barn roof yesterday. You were crying. Lily's face went red. Sydney Ann Miller, that's private. But it's true, Sid insisted. You can't do everything alone. Mama and Papa wouldn't want you to hurt yourself trying. The mention of their parents made Lily's expression crumble for just a second before she pulled it back together. Jake saw the moment clearly. This woman was hanging on by a thread. Tell you what, Jake said. Why don't I stay for a week? Trial period. If it doesn't work out, I'll move on. No hard feelings. But at least let me fix that barn roof before I go. Can't have it getting worse before winter comes. Lily looked at the barn, then at Sid's hopeful face, then back at Jake. He could see her fighting with herself, pride warring with practicality. 1 week, she finally said, You can stay in the small room off the barn. It's not much, but it's dry. I'll provide 3 meals a day. After a week, we'll see. Sid let out a whoop of joy and hugged her sister around the waist. Thank you. You won't regret this, I promise. Lily patted her sister's head, but she was looking at Jake. I hope you're right, Sid. I really hope you're right. Jake nodded at her. I'll do my best, Miss Miller. That's all I can promise. Call me Lily. If you're going to be staying here even for a week, we might as well use first names. All right then, Lily. Where should I put my horse? There's space in the barn. Come on, I'll show you. She started walking toward the barn and Jake followed, leading his horse. Sid skipped alongside them, chattering happily. You're going to love it here, Jake. Lily makes the best biscuits and sometimes we have honey with them. And there's a creek not far from here where you can wash up. And the sunsets are really pretty from the front porch. And, Sid, let the man breathe, Lily said. But there was a hint of a smile in her voice now. As they walked into the barn, Jake looked around. It was in rough shape, but it had good bones. Everything here did. The farm, the house, even Lily herself. They all just needed someone to care for them, to put in the work to make them strong again. He didn't know if he was the right person for that job. He'd failed it so much before, but as he watched Sid's happy face and saw the tiny bit of hope that had crept into Lily's eyes, he decided he was going to try his absolute best. Sometimes that's all anyone could do. Just try. The first morning, Jake woke up before dawn. His little room off the barn was simple but clean. Lily had left him a blanket, a pillow, and a small oil lamp. It was more than he'd had in some places he'd stayed. He washed his face in the cold water from the pump outside and got to work. The barn roof was his first priority. He found old tools in the barn, some rusty but still usable. By the time the sun came up, he was already on the roof, pulling off the damaged boards. Lily came out around 7 with a plate of food. She stood at the bottom of the ladder, looking up at him. You should have waited. I would have made you breakfast first, she called up. Didn't want to waste daylight, Jake called back. But I'll come down for that food if you're offering. They sat on the porch steps together, not saying much. The food was simple but good. Eggs, bread, and some jam. Jake ate carefully, making it last. When's the last time you had a proper meal? Lily asked, watching him. Been a while, Jake admitted. She nodded and went back inside. A few minutes later, she came back with more bread. Eat, she said simply. That became their routine. Jake would work all day, and Lily would bring him food and water. She didn't talk much at first, but she was always watching, making sure he was really working and not just pretending. By the 3rd day, Jake had the barn roof patched. It wasn't perfect, but it would hold through winter. He moved on to the fences, replacing posts and restringing wire. The work was hard, but it felt good. It felt like he was building something instead of running away. Sid became his constant shadow when she wasn't in school. She'd follow him around asking a million questions. "Where did you learn to fix fences?" she'd ask. "My father taught me when I was about your age." "Where's your father now?" "He passed away some years back." "Do you miss him?" "Every day." "Me too. I miss my papa every day." She was quiet for a moment, then asked, "Do you think they can see us from heaven?" Jake stopped working and looked at this little girl with her big, serious eyes. "I think so. And I bet your papa is real proud of how brave you are." Sid smiled at that. "I asked God to send help, and then you showed up. So maybe papa helped too." Jake didn't know what to say to that, so he just ruffled her hair and went back to work. The turning point came on the 5th day. Jake was fixing the chicken coop when he heard shouting from the house. He ran over to find Lily standing in the kitchen staring at a letter. Her hands were shaking. "What's wrong?" he asked from the doorway. "The bank," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "They're giving me until the end of harvest to pay what I owe. Or they're taking the farm." "How much time is that?" 3 months. Maybe 4 if winter comes late. She looked up at him and he saw fear in her eyes for the first time. "I don't know if I can save enough. The fields are in such bad shape. Even if I get them planted, I'd need help with the harvest and I can't afford to pay workers." Jake thought for a moment. What if we focused on a smaller area, planted the best fields and left the others fallow for now? Quality over quantity? "I don't know enough about farming to know if that would work. Papa always handled that side of things. I mostly helped Mama with the house and the animals. Well, I know a bit about farming. Worked on a ranch for years. It's not exactly the same, but the principles are similar. We could try." "Why are you helping me?" Lily asked suddenly. "Really helping me, I mean. Sid asked you to come, but you could have fixed the roof and left. You're still here." "Why?" Jake leaned against the doorframe. "Honest answer? I don't know. Maybe because your sister believed I was worth something when I wasn't sure I believed it myself. Maybe because I'm tired of running. Or maybe because I see someone trying so hard to do the right thing and I want to help. Does the reason matter?" Lily stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she smiled. It was small and uncertain, but it was real. "No, I guess it doesn't. Thank you, Jake." "You're welcome." From that day on, things changed between them. Lily started coming out to the fields while Jake worked, asking questions and learning. He taught her how to test the soil, how to plan crop rotation, and how to spot diseases in plants early. She taught him about the rhythms of the farm, where the best water sources were, which neighbors could be trusted and which couldn't, the history of the land and her family's connection to it. They started having dinner together in the evenings, the 3 of them around the old kitchen table. Sid would chatter about school, and Lily would scold her for talking with her mouth full, and Jake would listen and feel something he hadn't felt in years. He felt like he belonged. One evening, after Sid had gone to bed, Jake and Lily sat on the porch. The stars were out, bright and clear. The air was cool but not cold yet. "I was engaged once," Jake said suddenly. He didn't know why he was telling her this. The words just came out. Lily didn't say anything, just waited for him to continue. "Her name was Catherine. We were going to get married, start a ranch together. I'd saved up for years to buy the land, but there was a drought and then the cattle got sick and I lost everything. She left before the wedding, said she couldn't marry a man with no future. That must have hurt," Lily said softly. "It did. Still does sometimes. But the thing that hurt worse was that she was probably right. I wasn't much of a man back then. I let one failure destroy me. I've been drifting ever since, afraid to try again." "And now?" Jake looked at the farm, at the fields they'd started preparing, at the barn with its fixed roof. "Now I think maybe I'm ready to stop drifting. Ready to try again." Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I was supposed to marry too, before Mama and Papa got sick. There was a man in town nice enough. But when my parents died and I decided to keep Sid and the farm instead of selling and moving away, He said I was being foolish. Said I should put Sid in an orphanage and marry him and forget about this place. What did you say? I told him that Sid was my sister and this farm was my home, and if he couldn't understand that, then he didn't really know me at all. She smiled sadly. He married someone else 6 months later. His loss, Jake said. Lily looked at him surprised. What? I said his loss. Any man who can't see how strong you are, how good you are, isn't worth your time. Lily's face turned red, but she was smiling. Thank you for saying that. They sat in comfortable silence, for a while, listening to the crickets and the wind in the oak tree. Jake, Lily said eventually. Yeah? I'm glad Sid found you that day in the store. Jake felt his chest get warm. Me too, Lily. Me too. Inside the house, Sid peeked out from behind her bedroom curtain, watching them on the porch. She smiled to herself. Her plan was working even better than she'd hoped. She whispered into the dark. Thanks, Papa. I knew you'd help. Then she climbed back into bed, content that her family was starting to come together, piece by piece. Sid was a girl on a mission and everyone around her knew it. By the second week of Jake's stay, her matchmaking attempts had gone from subtle to downright obvious. It started small. She would suddenly remember she needed something from town, just as Jake and Lily were about to work in different areas of the farm. Jake, could you take Lily to town? I need to stay here and finish my schoolwork. The fact that Sid never wanted to stay home and do schoolwork didn't seem to bother her at all. Lily saw right through it. Sid, your homework can wait. But Miss Peterson said it's very important. And besides, you two need thread from the store and Jake needs nails. You're going to the same place. It just makes sense. Sid would flash her innocent smile, the one she used when she was up to something. So Jake and Lily would end up riding into town together on the wagon. At first they barely talked, both aware of Sid's plotting. But slowly they started having real conversations. About the weather, the crops, the town gossip. Normal things that normal people talked about. Your sister is about as subtle as a thunderstorm, Jake said one day as they headed back from town. Lily laughed. I know. I've tried talking to her about it, but she doesn't listen. She's convinced we're perfect for each other. Well, we do make a good team, Jake said carefully. For farming, I mean. Yes, for farming, Lily agreed, but her cheeks turned a bit pink. The next phase of Sid's campaign involved dinner arrangements. She started setting the table with only 2 plates. Sid, where's your plate? Lily would ask. Oh, I already ate, Sid would lie. I had some bread and cheese earlier. I'm not hungry. Sydney, you need to eat proper meals. I will. Tomorrow. Tonight, I just want you and Jake to enjoy dinner together. You both work so hard. And she'd disappear to her room before Lily could argue. 20 minutes later, Lily would find Sid in the kitchen, sneaking food. Not hungry, huh? I got hungry again, Sid would say with a shrug. The most obvious attempt came on a Saturday afternoon. Jake was repairing the front porch steps when Sid came running out of the house. Jake! Jake, come quick! Lily needs help in her room. Jake dropped his hammer and ran inside, his heart pounding. What's wrong? Is she hurt? He rushed into Lily's room to find her standing there perfectly fine, looking confused. Jake, what's wrong? Sid said you needed help. He stopped, realizing they'd been tricked. They both turned to the doorway where Sid stood, looking pleased with herself. You're both here. Perfect, now you can talk. She started to close the door. Sydney Ann Miller, don't you dare close that door. Lily's voice was sharp, but Sid had already scampered away. Giggling, Jake and Lily stood there awkwardly in her bedroom, both very aware that this wasn't proper. I'm sorry, Lily said, her face bright red. She's getting out of hand. It's all right. She means well. Jake backed toward the door. I should go back to the porch. Yes, good idea. But as he left, they both smiled a little. Sid's schemes were ridiculous, but they were also kind of sweet. That evening, after Sid had gone to bed, Lily went out to the barn to talk to Jake. She found him brushing down his horse. We need to talk about Sid, she said. I know. She's gotten worse. She has. And I'm worried about why. Lily sat down on a hay bale. I think she's scared. Jake stopped brushing and looked at her. Scared of what? Of losing me. Of losing this place. She knows about the bank. She hears things even when I try to keep them from her. And in her mind, if you're here, if we're together, everything will be safe. That's a lot of pressure to put on a little kid's shoulders. I know, and I feel terrible about it. But I don't know how to make her feel secure when I don't feel secure myself. Lily's voice cracked a little. Jake set down the brush and sat on the hay bale next to her. You're doing your best. That's all anyone can do. Is it enough, though? What if I lose the farm? What happens to Sid then? You won't lose it. We're going to save it. How can you be so sure? Because you're one of the strongest people I've ever met. And because you're not alone anymore. We're going to figure this out together. Lily looked at him and Jake saw tears in her eyes. Why are you so good to us? Maybe because you two are the first people in a long time who made me feel like I matter. They sat there in the quiet barn, close but not touching. Both of them thinking about things they weren't quite ready to say out loud. The next morning, Sid tried another tactic. She woke up claiming she felt sick. My stomach hurts so bad, she moaned, lying in bed dramatically. I don't think I can go to school. Lily felt her forehead. You don't have a fever. It's not that kind of sick. It's a stomach sick. Maybe if Jake made me soup? He seems like he'd make good soup. And you could sit with me while he cooks, together, in the kitchen, alone. Lily crossed her arms. Sid, enough. You're going to school. But Lily, no buts. Get dressed. Lily left the room, shaking her head. Sid got ready for school, but she wasn't giving up. At breakfast, she sighed loudly and dramatically. What's wrong now? Lily asked. Nothing. I just think it's sad that some people are too stubborn to see what's right in front of them. She looked meaningfully between Jake and Lily. Sid, Jake said gently, can I talk to you for a minute? Outside? They went out to the porch. Jake sat down on the steps and patted the spot next to him. Sid sat down, looking worried that she was in trouble. I know what you're trying to do, Jake said, and I understand why. You do? Sure, you love your sister. You want her to be happy and to have help, and you're scared about what might happen if things don't work out. Sid's eyes got watery. I don't want us to lose the farm. I don't want Lily to have to marry some mean man just to save it. And I don't want you to leave. Hey, Jake put his arm around her shoulders. I'm not planning on leaving. Your sister and I, we're friends now. Good friends. And friends stick together. But don't you want to be more than friends? Sid asked. Don't you think she's pretty? Jake felt his face get warm. Your sister's very pretty. And smart and kind. But these things take time, Sid. You can't force people to fall in love just because you want them to. But you do like her, right? Jake was quiet for a moment. Yes, I like her. A lot, actually. But I need to do this right. I need to earn her trust and respect first. And all your tricks and plans, while they're very creative, they're making things harder, not easier. Sid thought about this. So I should stop? I think you should just let things happen naturally. Your sister and I are spending time together. We're getting to know each other. That's good, but she needs to know I'm here because I want to be, not because you trapped me into staying. I didn't trap you, didn't you? First day we met, you grabbed my hand and wouldn't let go until I promised to come meet Lily. Sid giggled a little. Okay, maybe a little bit. But it worked, didn't it? It did. But now you need to trust us to figure out the rest on our own. Can you do that? Sid was quiet, thinking hard. Finally, she nodded. Okay, I'll try. But if you hurt my sister, I'll never forgive you. Fair enough. And if anyone ever hurts you, I'll never forgive them either. Deal? Deal. Sid hugged him tight. I'm glad you're here, Jake. Even if you and Lily are just friends, I'm still glad. Me too, kiddo. Me too. That afternoon, Lily found Jake working in the field. What did you say to Sid this morning? She's been different, calmer. I just told her the truth. That these things take time. That we can't rush them. These things? Lily asked, raising an eyebrow. Jake stopped working and looked at her directly. Lily, I like you. I respect you. And I think given time I could care about you a great deal. But I want to do this right. I want to earn your trust and show you that I'm someone you can depend on. Not because Sid pushed us together, but because it's real. Lily stared at him, surprise written all over her face. Then slowly she smiled. Well then, I appreciate your honesty. So you're not upset? No, actually I'm relieved. I was starting to think I was imagining things. She paused, then added quietly, for the record, I like you too. But you're right. Let's take our time and do this right. They went back to work, both trying to hide their smiles. And from the barn loft where she was supposed to be doing homework, Sid watched them and grinned. Maybe Jake was right about letting things happen naturally. because even without her help, things seemed to be working out just fine. October arrived with beautiful colors and cool air, but also with terrible news. The frost came early. Way too early. Jake woke up one morning and knew immediately something was wrong. The air felt different. He rushed outside and saw it. Everything was covered in a thin layer of ice. The crops in the field sparkled in the early morning light, but it wasn't beautiful. It was devastating. No, 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 he heard Lily's voice behind him. She was standing on the porch in her nightgown and shawl, staring at the fields with horror on her face. It's too early. We're not ready. The crops aren't ready. Jake walked over to her. We need to see how bad it is. Maybe some of it survived. They walked through the fields together as the sun came up. It was worse than they feared. The early frost had damaged most of the crops. The ones that could have been harvested next week were now wilting and dying. Lily stood in the middle of the field, her hands covering her mouth. This was it. This was our chance to save the farm. And now it's gone. Not all of it, Jake said, trying to stay calm. Some of the plants closer to the tree line might have been protected. And the root vegetables should be okay underground. We can still salvage something. It won't be enough. You know it won't be enough. Lily's voice was shaking. We needed a good harvest to pay the bank. This isn't a good harvest. This is a disaster. Jake wanted to argue, but he couldn't. She was right. They spent the morning assessing the damage. Sid came out before school, saw their faces, and didn't ask any questions. She just hugged her sister and went to catch the school wagon. For the next 3 days, Jake and Lily worked from before sunrise until after sunset. They harvested everything they could save. They worked silently, both too tired and too worried to talk much. The pile of saved crops grew, but it was so much smaller than what they'd hoped for. On the third night, Lily didn't come in for dinner. Jake found her in the barn, sitting on the floor, surrounded by baskets of the harvested vegetables. She was crying. Jake had never seen her cry before. Not when the bank letter came. Not when the fence broke and they lost a day's work. Not even when she talked about her parents. But now she was sobbing, her whole body shaking. He sat down next to her, not saying anything, just being there. I can't do this anymore, Lily said between sobs. I've tried so hard. I've worked myself sick. I've given up everything. And it's still not enough. It's never enough. Lily, no, let me finish. I need to say this. She wiped her face roughly. When Mama and Papa died, everyone told me to sell the farm. They said I was being foolish trying to keep it with a child to raise. But this farm is all Sid knows. It's her home. It's where she learned to walk, where Papa taught her to ride, where Mama's garden used to grow. How could I take that from her? You couldn't, Jake said softly. But what if I lose it anyway? What if all my work, all my sacrifice, it's all for nothing? What if I fail her? You haven't failed anyone, haven't I? Look at this. She gestured at the small harvest. This isn't enough to pay the bank. It's not even close. We have maybe 2 months before they take the farm, and I have no idea what to do. Jake took a deep breath. Then we figure it out together. We find another way. What other way? I don't have anything left to sell. I've already sold Mama's jewelry, Papa's watch, everything valuable except the land itself. What about working in town? Taking in sewing or laundry? I've tried. People aren't hiring, and the ones who are won't pay enough to make a difference. Lily looked at him with exhausted eyes. I think I have to accept it. We're going to lose the farm. No, Jake's voice was firm. We're not giving up yet. Jake, being optimistic doesn't change reality. I know, but giving up definitely doesn't change it either. He stood up and offered her his hand. Come on, let's go inside. You need food and sleep. Everything looks worse when you're exhausted. Lily let him pull her to her feet. They walked to the house together and Jake made dinner while Lily sat at the table staring at nothing. Sid came home from her friend's house and immediately knew something was very wrong. What happened? The frost damaged the crops, honey, Lily said, trying to sound calm. We're going to have to figure some things out. Are we going to lose the farm? Sid's voice was small. Lily couldn't answer. She just started crying again. Sid ran to Jake. Fix it. You fix everything. Fix this. I'm trying, Sid. I promise I'm trying. That night, Jake couldn't sleep. He lay in his room in the barn, thinking. There had to be a way. There had to be something they could do. He thought about his savings. He had some money tucked away, saved from years of work. It wasn't much, but it was something. He could give it to Lily, but would she take it? She was so proud. She'd already said no to charity. But this wouldn't be charity. This would be an investment. In the farm. In their future. Their future. When had he started thinking of it as their future instead of just her future? The answer was simple. Somewhere between fixing the barn roof and working the fields beside her. Somewhere between Sid's laughter and Lily's rare smiles. He'd stopped thinking of this as temporary. This had become his home. They had become his family. The next morning, Jake woke to find Lily already in the fields. She was working alone, harvesting what little was left. He watched her for a moment. Even exhausted and heartbroken, she was still trying. Still fighting, he made a decision. He found her at the far end of the field. "Lily, I need to talk to you." "Not now, Jake. I need to finish this. It's important." Something in his tone made her stop. She turned to look at him. "I have money," Jake said. "Savings from years of work. It's not a fortune, but it's enough to help with the bank payment." Lily stared at him. "Jake, no. I can't take your money. You're not taking it. I'm investing it. In this farm. In this family. This isn't your family. You don't owe us anything. Maybe not. But I choose you. Both of you. I choose this place. I choose to stay and fight for it." He stepped closer. "Lily, I know you're scared. I know you're tired. But you don't have to do this alone anymore. Let me help. Really help. Why? Why would you risk your savings on a failing farm? Because it's not failing. Not if we work together. And because," he paused, trying to find the right words, "because when I'm here, I feel like I'm home. For the first time in years, I feel like I belong somewhere. That's worth more than money." Lily's eyes filled with tears again, but these were different. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes. Say you'll let me be part of this. Part of your life. Not just as a worker, but as a partner. A partner, in every way that matters." Jake took her hand. "I'm not asking you to marry me right now. I know it's too soon. But I'm asking you to let me stay. To let me invest in this place. To let me be part of Sid's life and your life. To give us a real chance." Lily looked at their joined hands. "You really mean it?" "Every word." She was quiet for a long moment. Then she squeezed his hand. "Okay, yes, partners." Jake felt relief wash over him. Partners. They stood there in the damaged field as the sun rose higher. The situation was still difficult. They still had challenges ahead. But for the first time in days, there was hope. "We should tell Sid," Lily said finally. "Yeah. She's probably been worried sick." They walked back to the house together, still holding hands. When they told Sid about Jake's investment and his decision to stay permanently, she didn't jump or cheer like they expected. Instead, she hugged them both and cried happy tears. "I knew," she said. "I knew you were supposed to be here." "Yeah, kiddo. I think you were right," Jake said, ruffling her hair. They spent the rest of the day working together, all three of them, harvesting what they could, making plans, looking ahead instead of dwelling on the loss. It wasn't going to be easy. The bank payment was still going to be difficult. But they had a fighting chance now. And sometimes that's all you need. 2 weeks after the frost, a letter arrived. But this time it wasn't from the bank. Jake was fixing the front gate when he saw Lily standing by the mailbox holding an envelope. Her face had gone pale. "What is it?" he called, walking over. She handed him the letter without a word. It was addressed to him, from a ranch up north. As he read it, his stomach tightened. The letter was a job offer. A good one. The foreman position at the Thompson Ranch, one of the biggest operations in 2 territories. They'd heard about his work from someone who knew someone. The pay was excellent. Room and board included. It was the kind of opportunity most ranch hands only dreamed about. "You should take it," Lily said quietly. "What?" "It's a good job, stable, secure, better than anything around here." She wouldn't look at him. "Lily, I told you I'm staying. That was before you knew you had options. Jake, this is your chance for a real future. You should go." Jake folded the letter and put it in his pocket. "I am staying, but no buts. I made my choice. I invested in this farm, in us. I'm not leaving." He took her hand. "Unless you're trying to get rid of me." Lily finally looked at him and he saw tears in her eyes. "I'm trying to give you an out. Before you're stuck here with us. I don't want an out. I want to be here. Why? You could have security, good money, a real position. I'd also have nothing that matters. Lily, I spent years chasing money and position before. You know what it got me? Nothing. I was miserable. Here, with you and Sid working on this farm, I'm happy. For the first time in longer than I can remember, I'm actually happy. Even with all our problems? Even with the bank and the damaged crops and everything being so uncertain? Especially with all that. Because we're facing it together. That's what makes it worth it. Lily squeezed his hand. You're either very brave or very foolish. Maybe both. Jake smiled. But I'm yours if you'll have me. He said it casually, but the weight of the words hung in the air between them. Lily's eyes widened slightly. Jake, I know it's soon. I know we haven't talked about the future specifically. But Lily, I need you to know how I feel. He paused, then decided to just say it. I love you. I love Sid. I love this farm. And I want to build a life here. With both of you. If you want that too. Lily stared at him for a long moment. Then she laughed, but it wasn't a mean laugh. It was surprised and happy and a little bit disbelieving. What's funny? Jake asked, confused. My 9-year-old sister was right. That's what's funny. She took one look at you and decided you were perfect for us, and she was completely right. Lily stepped closer to him. I love you too. I think I have for a while now. I was just too scared to admit it. Scared of what? Scared that if I let myself care, you'd leave. Everyone leaves eventually. I'm not going anywhere. Jake pulled her close. I promise you that. They stood there by the mailbox holding each other. It wasn't a fancy romantic moment. They were both dusty from work. The farm still had problems. The future was still uncertain. But it felt right, so what do we do now? Lily asked. Well, first I need to write a letter turning down that job. Then I think we need to talk about making this partnership permanent. Permanent how? Jake pulled back enough to look at her face. I think you know how. But I want to do this right. I want to talk to Sid first, make sure she's okay with it. Then I want to ask you properly. The way you deserve, Lily smiled. Jake, I don't need fancy. I just need honest. Then honestly, I want to marry you. I want to adopt Sid if she'll let me. I want to save this farm and build a life here, with you. Both of you. Yes, Lily said simply. Yes? Yes to all of it. To you, to us, to everything. Jake kissed her then, soft and gentle. It was their first kiss, standing by the mailbox on a Tuesday afternoon, and it was perfect. Should we tell Sid? Lily asked. Definitely. But first, let me do this right. That evening, after dinner, Jake asked to speak with both of them. They sat in the living room together. Sid, Jake began, I need to ask you something important. Sid sat up straighter, her eyes curious. Okay, I love your sister. And I love you. And I want to be part of this family permanently. But before I ask Lily to marry me officially, I need to know if that's okay with you. Sid's mouth fell open. For once, she was speechless. See, you're the one who brought me here, Jake continued. You trusted me when you didn't have any reason to. And I want you to know that if Lily and I get married, I'm not trying to replace your papa. No one could do that. But I promise I'll do my best to take care of both of you, to protect you, to be someone you can count on. Sid launched herself at Jake, hugging him so tight he could barely breathe.
Yes, yes!
1,000 times yes. Jake laughed and hugged her back. So you're okay with it? I prayed for this. Sid pulled back, her face shining. I asked God to send us help, and he sent you. Of course I'm okay with it. All right, then. Jake gently moved Sid aside and got down on one knee in front of Lily. Jake, you don't have to... Lily started. Shh. Let me do this. He took her hand. Lily, I came to this town with nothing but a horse and some old tools. I was lost and alone and didn't know where I belonged. You and Sid gave me a home. You gave me purpose. You gave me a reason to be a better man. I don't have much to offer. No fancy ring, no big ranch, just myself and a promise to love you and fight for this family every single day. Will you marry me? Lily was crying now, but she was smiling too. Yes, yes, I'll marry you. Sid cheered and clapped. This is the best day ever. Jake stood up and kissed Lily again while Sid bounced around them happily. Wait, Sid said suddenly. Do I get to help plan the wedding? Absolutely, Lily said. But nothing too fancy. We can't afford it. Who needs fancy? We'll have it here on the farm. Under the oak tree. It'll be perfect. Over the next few days, news spread through town. Some people were happy for them. Others whispered that it was too fast, too soon. But Jake and Lily didn't care about the gossip. They went to the bank together and explained the situation. With Jake's investment and the harvest they'd managed to save, they could make a payment. It wasn't everything they owed, but it was enough to buy them more time. The bank manager, a stern man named Mr. Peterson, looked over their figures. "This is acceptable for now," he said, "but you'll need to make another payment after the spring planting. Can you manage that?" "Yes, sir," Jake said. "We'll make it work." Mr. Peterson studied them both. "You're the drifter who showed up a few months back, aren't you?" "Yes, sir." "And you're staying? You're not going to take the money and run?" "I'm staying. This is my home now." Mr. Peterson nodded slowly. "All right. I'm giving you until June. If you can make the spring payment, we'll restructure the loan, make it more manageable." "Thank you," Lily said, relief clear in her voice. As they left the bank, Lily turned to Jake. "We can do this. We can really save the farm." "We can do anything together," Jake said. That night, the three of them sat on the porch watching the sunset. Sid was between them, holding both their hands. "Papa would have liked you," Sid said to Jake. "Mama, too. I wish I could have met them. They're watching, though. I know they are. And I think they're happy." Jake squeezed her hand. "I hope so, kiddo. I really hope so." The future was still uncertain. There would be hard work ahead. Challenges they couldn't predict. But sitting there on that porch with his soon-to-be wife and daughter, Jake felt something he hadn't felt in years. He felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. And for the first time since his old life fell apart, Jake believed that maybe, just maybe, second chances were real, that broken people could heal, that lost souls could find their way home. All it took was a little girl brave enough to ask a stranger for help, and a man brave enough to say yes. Winter came to Millwood with snow and cold winds, but inside the farmhouse everything felt warm. Jake officially moved into the house, though he and Lily kept separate rooms until the wedding. It was important to both of them to do things properly, especially with Sid watching and learning. The days fell into a comfortable rhythm. Jake would wake early and start the fire in the stove. Lily would come down and make breakfast while he fed the animals. Sid would stumble downstairs, still half asleep, and they'd eat together as the sun rose. During the day, they worked on winter repairs. The cold months were for fixing all the things that broke during the busy season. Jake replaced worn hinges on the barn door. Lily mended clothes and made quilts. Sid helped both of them, learning skills she'd need when she was grown. "You're going to be a very capable woman someday," Jake told her one afternoon as she helped him oil the tools. "Like Lily?" Sid asked. "Even better. You'll have all her strength plus everything we teach you now." Sid beamed at that. The town slowly warmed up to Jake. At first, some folks had been suspicious of the stranger who'd shown up and was now marrying into the Miller family, but Jake won them over with steady work and honest dealing. When old Mr. Chen's wagon wheel broke on the road, Jake stopped to help fix it, refusing payment. When the schoolhouse needed repairs after a storm, Jake volunteered his time. When Mrs. Patterson's cow got loose, Jake spent half a day helping round it up. "You're making us look good," Lily teased him one evening. "Just being neighborly. It's more than that. You're becoming part of the community. People trust you now." Jake smiled. "Good, because this is home. These are our people." The wedding planning was simple but heartfelt. Sid took her role as wedding coordinator very seriously. She made lists and drew pictures of how everything should look. "The chairs should go here," she'd say, drawing on her paper. "And we'll put flowers all along the path. And the food table goes by the house." "Sid, honey, we can't afford all those flowers," Lily said gently. "We'll make them. Paper flowers. I learned how in school." So they spent evenings making paper flowers. Even Jake joined in, his big rough hands carefully folding delicate paper into roses and daisies. They weren't perfect, but they were made with love. "These are actually pretty good," Lily said, looking at Jake's attempts. "Don't sound so surprised. I just didn't know you had such gentle hands." Jake felt his face get warm. "There's probably a lot you don't know about me yet." "Good. That means we have years of discoveries ahead." As winter progressed, they started planning for spring planting. Jake and Lily sat at the kitchen table night after night, going over numbers and making decisions. "If we plant wheat in the north field and corn in the south, we can rotate them next year," Jake suggested. "What about the east field? Should we let it rest?" "Might be smart. Give the soil time to recover." They talked about chickens and maybe getting a milk cow, about fixing the irrigation system and building a proper root cellar. These were dreams now, but they were working toward making them real. One cold evening in January, a knock came at the door. It was Mr. Chen from town. "Sorry to bother you folks," he said, "but I wanted to ask Jake something." "Come in, please," Lily said. "It's freezing out there." Mr. Chen stepped inside and turned to Jake. "I heard you're good with horses. My son wants to learn, but I don't have the patience to teach him. Would you consider taking him on? I'd pay you, of course." Jake looked at Lily, who nodded encouragingly. "Sure, I can do that, thank you. He's a good boy, just needs guidance." Mr. Chen handed Jake some money. "This is for the first month." After he left, Jake stared at the money in his hand. "I didn't expect that." "You've built a reputation," Lily said proudly. "People know you're skilled and trustworthy. This could help with the farm expenses." "It could. But Jake, this is your money. You earned it. Our money. Everything I have is ours now." Lily hugged him. "How did I get so lucky?" "I think I'm the lucky one." More people started coming to Jake for help. Someone needed a fence built. Someone else wanted advice on training a difficult horse. Each job brought in a little money, and more importantly, it gave Jake a place in the community. Valentine's Day arrived, and Sid had been planning something secret for weeks. She'd been disappearing into her room and giggling mysteriously. On the morning of February 14th, she presented her gift. It was a drawing, carefully colored and framed in wood that Jake had helped her make without knowing what it was for. The picture showed 3 people standing in front of a house. A man, a woman, and a little girl. They were holding hands and smiling. Above them, written in Sid's careful handwriting, it said, "Our family." "I made one for each of you," Sid announced. "So you never forget that we're a family now. Not just Lily and me anymore. All 3 of us." Lily started crying, and Jake had to clear his throat several times before he could speak. "This is the best gift I've ever gotten," he said, kneeling down to hug Sid. "Really? Better than a new saddle or a good horse?" "1,000,000 times better." They hung the pictures in each of their rooms. That night, Jake looked at his for a long time before bed. He'd never had his picture drawn before. Never had someone consider him part of a family picture. It meant more than he could express. As February turned to March, they started preparing for spring planting. The ground was still frozen, but they got the equipment ready and made their final plans. "This is it," Lily said one evening. "If we can have a good spring and summer, we'll make that bank payment in June. We'll save the farm for real." "We'll do it," Jake said confidently. "We've got this." Sid looked up from her schoolwork. "Of course we'll do it. We're a team." "That's right, we are," Lily agreed. "The best team," Sid added. "Papa and Mama would be proud." The wedding was set for late April, after the spring planting but before the busy summer season. It gave them time to prepare without taking away from the important farm work. Lily's dress was simple, made from fabric she'd been saving. It wasn't fancy, but it was beautiful. Jake borrowed a proper suit from the general store owner. Sid got a new dress, her first new dress in 2 years. "I look like a lady," she said, twirling in front of the mirror. "You are a lady," Lily told her. "Does this mean I have to stop climbing trees?" "Not at all. Ladies can climb trees too." The community came together to help with wedding preparations. Mrs. Patterson offered to make the cake. Mr. Chen's wife helped with decorations. The school teacher, Miss Sullivan, offered to play her violin during the ceremony. "I didn't realize we had so many friends," Lily said. "Overwhelmed by the kindness, you've always had friends," Jake replied. "You were just too proud to let them help before. You changed that. You showed me it's okay to accept help, to be part of a community. We changed it together." As the wedding date approached, Sid got more and more excited. She'd check off days on the calendar and count down. 5 more days until you're really officially married. 4 more days. 3 more days. Her excitement was contagious. Even Jake, who'd been nervous about the ceremony, found himself looking forward to it. Not just the wedding itself, but what it represented. A new beginning. A real family. A home. One night, a few days before the wedding, Jake couldn't sleep. He went out to the porch and found Lily already there, wrapped in a blanket. "Couldn't sleep either?" he asked. "Too much thinking." He sat beside her. "Good thoughts or bad thoughts?" "Good ones. I'm thinking about how different everything is from a year ago. How lost I felt. How alone. And now I have you. And Sid is happy again. And we have a real chance at keeping this place." She leaned against him. "I never thought I'd feel this hopeful again." "Me neither. I thought I'd spend the rest of my life drifting from place to place, never belonging anywhere. You belong here now. I know, and that's everything." They sat together in the quiet night watching the stars. In a few days, they'd stand under the oak tree and make promises to each other in front of their friends and neighbors. They'd become a family in the eyes of the law and the community. But sitting there on the porch, Jake realized they'd already been a family for months. The wedding was just making official what had already happened in their hearts. "Ready for our future?" Lily asked. Jake squeezed her hand. "With you? I'm ready for anything." The morning of the wedding dawned clear and beautiful. Spring had arrived in full force, bringing warm sunshine and the smell of fresh earth and new growth. Sid woke everyone up early, too excited to sleep any longer. "It's wedding day. It's finally wedding day." "Yes, honey, we know," Lily said with a laugh. "You've only been reminding us for weeks. But today is the actual day. Aren't you excited?" "Very excited. Now let me make breakfast before we start getting ready." The house was a flurry of activity all morning. Neighbors arrived early to help set up chairs under the oak tree. Mrs. Patterson brought the cake, a beautiful 2-layer creation with white frosting. Mr. Chen and his sons helped Jake set up tables for the food. "Nervous?" Mr. Chen asked Jake. "A little," Jake admitted. "That's natural, but you're doing the right thing. Those are good people you're marrying into." "I know. I'm the lucky one." By early afternoon, people started arriving. The whole town seemed to have turned out. The chairs under the oak tree filled up quickly. Children ran around the yard, playing in their nice clothes. Women clustered together, admiring the simple decorations. Men stood in groups, talking about crops and weather. In the house, Lily was getting ready. Her hands shook as she tried to fix her hair. "Let me help," Sid said. She stood on a chair behind her sister and carefully pinned up Lily's hair. "You look so beautiful." "You think so?" Lily looked at herself in the small mirror. The most beautiful bride ever. Sid hugged her from behind. "Mama would be so happy right now." Lily felt tears coming but blinked them back. "Don't make me cry. I'll mess up my face. Happy tears don't count. That's what Papa used to say, remember?" "I remember." Lily turned around and hugged Sid properly. "Thank you, sweet girl. For everything. For being brave enough to ask Jake for help. For believing in us when things looked impossible." "I just knew," Sid said simply. "Sometimes you just know things in your heart." There was a knock at the door. Mrs. Patterson poked her head in. "Are you ready?" "Everyone's waiting." Lily took a deep breath. "Yes, I'm ready." She walked downstairs and out to the front porch. From there, she could see everything. The crowd of people gathered under the oak tree. The chairs decorated with the paper flowers they'd made. The simple arch Jake had built, covered in real flowers that neighbors had brought from their gardens, and there, standing under the arch, was Jake. He wore the borrowed suit, his hair combed neatly, his face clean-shaven. But what struck her most was the look on his face when he saw her. Pure love and happiness. Miss Sullivan began playing her violin, a sweet, simple melody. Sid walked down the path first, scattering flower petals. She took her position at the front, right between where Jake and Lily would stand. Then Lily walked down the path alone. Her parents weren't there to give her away, but she was okay with that. She'd been taking care of herself and Sid for 2 years. She could walk to her own wedding on her own 2 feet. When she reached Jake, he held out his hand. She took it and they faced each other. The preacher, an old man who'd known Lily's parents, began the ceremony. But Lily barely heard the words. She was too focused on Jake's face, on the warmth of his hand holding hers, on Sid standing beside them, with the biggest smile Lily had ever seen. "Do you, Jake, take Lily to be your wife? To love her, protect her, and stand by her in good times and bad?" "I do," Jake said firmly. "With all my heart." "And do you, Lily, take Jake to be your husband? To love him, support him, and stand by him in good times and bad?" "I do," Lily said. Her voice was strong and sure. "Then by the power vested in me, I pronounce you husband and wife. Jake, you may kiss your bride." Jake leaned in and kissed Lily softly. The crowd erupted in cheers and applause. Sid jumped up and down, clapping her hands. But before they could step back, Sid grabbed both their hands. "Wait, I have something to say." The crowd quieted down, curious. "I just want everyone to know," Sid announced loudly, "that I'm the one who found Jake. I went up to him in the store and asked him to help us, and I was right. He was the perfect person, so really this is all because of me." The crowd laughed warmly. Jake ruffled Sid's hair. That's absolutely true. We owe everything to you, kiddo. And I want to say, Sid continued more seriously now, that Jake is the best almost papa anyone could ask for, and I'm really happy he's part of our family now. The end. She took a bow and everyone applauded again. Lily was crying now and she didn't care who saw. The rest of the afternoon was filled with food, music, and celebration. People danced on the grass. Children played games. The cake was cut and shared. Stories were told and laughter filled the air. Jake found himself surrounded by men from town, shaking hands and receiving congratulations. These same men had been suspicious of him months ago. Now they were welcoming him as one of their own. "You're a good man," Mr. Chen said, clapping him on the shoulder. "You take care of those girls." "I will." "That's a promise." Lily was with the women, who were giving her advice about marriage and laughing about their own husbands. Mrs. Patterson hugged her tight. "Your mama would be so proud of you," she whispered. "You've done good, girl. Real good." As the sun began to set, people started heading home. They said their goodbyes, thanking the new couple for a beautiful celebration. Slowly, the crowd thinned until it was just Jake, Lily, and Sid. They stood together under the oak tree, looking at the mess of chairs and tables and leftover decorations. "We should clean up," Lily said. But she didn't move. "It can wait until tomorrow," Jake replied. "Come on, let's watch the sunset." They walked to the front porch and sat on the steps just like they'd done so many evenings before. But everything felt different now. Better. Complete. Sid sat between them, holding both their hands. The sky turned orange and pink and purple as the sun went down. "This is the best day of my whole life," Sid said quietly. "Mine too," Lily agreed. "Mine three," Jake added, making Sid giggle at his grammar. They watched the colors change in the sky. The farm stretched out before them, the fields ready for planting, the barn standing strong with its fixed roof, the house that was truly a home now. "You know what's funny?" Sid said. "When I first saw Jake in the store, I was so scared. My hands were shaking when I walked up to him. But I did it anyway because I had to, because Lily needed help and I didn't know what else to do." "You were very brave," Jake said. "I didn't feel brave. I felt scared. But I asked anyway." She looked up at him. "And you said yes. You could have said no. You could have walked away. But you didn't." "No, I didn't. And I'm glad I didn't." "Me too," Sid said. She leaned her head against his arm. "Jake, yeah? Can I call you Papa? I know you said you're not trying to replace my real Papa, and I know he'll always be my Papa in heaven. But you're my Papa here on earth. So can I?" Jake's throat got tight. He looked at Lily, who was crying again. She nodded at him. "I would be honored," Jake said, his voice rough with emotion. "So honored, Sid. Papa Jake," Sid said, trying it out. "Or just Papa." "Yeah, just Papa sounds good." Jake pulled her close and kissed the top of her head. "Just Papa sounds perfect to me." They sat there as the last light faded from the sky. Stars began appearing one by one. The night was quiet except for the crickets and the gentle wind in the oak tree. "I should probably tell you both something," Jake said after a while. "I got another letter last week. From the Thompson Ranch, they wrote again asking if I'd reconsidered." Lily stiffened slightly. And I wrote back and told them I'm exactly where I belong. That I'm not interested in their job or any other job that takes me away from my family." "You didn't have to do that," Lily said softly. "Yes, I did. Because it's true. This farm, this family, this life we're building together, it's worth more than all the money in the world." He looked at both of them. "You two gave me something I thought I'd lost forever. You gave me a purpose, a home, a reason to wake up in the morning." "You gave us the same thing," Lily said. "You saved us, Jake, not just the farm, but us. Me and Sid." "No," Jake shook his head. "We saved each other." "That's what family does," Sid yawned big. "Can we stay out here a little longer?" "I don't want this day to end." "Just a little longer," Lily agreed. They stayed on the porch as the night grew darker. Sid eventually fell asleep, her head in Lily's lap, her feet across Jake's legs. "Should we take her inside?" Jake whispered. "Not yet. Let's just stay like this for a few more minutes." So they did. Jake and Lily held hands over Sid's sleeping form, watching the stars, listening to the peaceful sounds of their farm. "What are you thinking about?" Lily asked. "I'm thinking about that first day, when I rode up to this house, dusty and tired and not sure what I'd find, and there you were on the porch looking at me like I might be trouble. You were trouble. The best kind of trouble, Jake smiled. I'm thinking about how much has changed. How different everything is now. Good different? The best different. I went from having nothing to having everything that matters. We still have challenges ahead, Lily reminded him. The bank payment in June, the planting season. All the work ahead, I know. But we'll face it together. All three of us. All three of us, Lily repeated, liking the sound of it. Eventually, they carried Sid inside and tucked her into bed. She mumbled something about paper flowers and Papa in her sleep, making them both smile. Later, as Jake and Lily said goodnight at their separate bedroom doors,